This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. So in the last class, we are discussing about pleural effusion. So what is pleural effusion? You all know, but there are four types of effusions are there. One is, what are they? I just last class. You know all pleural effusion, of course. Pleural effusion, some amount of fluid is already there. About 8 to 10 ml. Some people say up to 20 ml. About actually 0.13 ml per kg body weight of pleural fluid will be there. 0.13 ml of fluid for about 8 to 20 ml of fluid will be there. That is for lubrication purpose. That is for the lubrication purpose of the pleura. So that will be there. So there are 3-4 types of pleural effusion described. One is pleural effusion, what you know. Then second one is hydrothorax. And the third one is chylous effusion. Chylous effusion. And fourth one is non-chylous effusion. And in pleural effusion, again, there are various types of definitions depending upon the presence of fluid. One is parapneumonic. Loculated pleural effusion. Usually in exudate, what happens? The fluid is anatomically confined to the pleural space, where there are additions between the visceral and parietal pleura. That will occur. And there is one variety known as subpulmonic effusion. As big as about 1000 ml of fluid may be there. You will find it as just elevated diaphragm on the side. That is loculated pleural effusion there. This is subalveolar effusion. Subpulmonic effusion, you see here, the diaphragm is very high on the right side. Elevated diaphragm when compared to left side. This is all effusion. So how will you come to know that it's a case of pleural effusion? What is the test actually? Okay. Of course, other types of effusion are there. Parapneumonic effusion is there. Effusion is there. And along with effusion, there is pneumonic patch. That is parapneumonic effusion. And I already told you that there is another term known as pneumonic effusion. Some people call effusion that occurs with pneumococcal pneumonia. Pneumococcal pneumonia, that is known as pneumonic effusion. Parapneumonic effusion occurs along with pneumonia in case of lung abscess and bronchiectasis. Of course, this is pleural effusion. This is loculated effusion. The same thing. Of course, based on the mechanism type of pleural fluid, this also we discussed. What is the pathogenesis? What is the pathogenesis? Srinath? One of you, please. Harika? Harika?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. What is the pathogenesis, ma'am?
Sir, there's increased pleural pressure.
Very good.
Permeability is also increased.
Oh, very good. So increase the pleural effusion occurs. One is because of excessive production of pleural fluid, and decreased transportation of pleural fluid on the pleural space. One is excessive production. Excessive production may be due to, one is what you said is increased hydrostatic pressure. Hydrostatic, like in case of congestive cardiac failure. Cardiac failure, fluid accumulates in the pleural space. The second one is oncotic pressure. With oncotic pressure, the pleural fluid flows in the pleural space. So that is more production of fluid. And the third one is in case of ascites. Ascites, the pores, the small pores that are present in the diaphragm, the fluid enters into the pleural space. So three causes: increase the oncotic pain, decrease oncotic pressure, increase hydrostatic pressure, and the third one is the fluid enters into the pleural cavity with the small pores in the diaphragm from the abdominal cavity. The second one is a decreased transportation. Decreased transportation. The transportation is by actually through the lymphatics. So when the lymphatics are damaged in certain conditions like in case of course, trauma to the thoracic duct, it may be direct trauma to the lymphatics, or it may be tumor obstructing, or it may be to leukemia, or it may be to lymphoma, or it may be to lymph nodes, and it may be due to radiation. When the lymphatics are damaged because of the radiation, then the transportation of fluid does not occur. So as a result, what happened? The fluid accumulates in the pleural space. So that are two important mechanisms. Of course, this is here it is given. Of course, causes you know very well. Exudative causes are there, and transitive causes are there. Transitive causes, I told you, the transitive renal cause means the nephrotic syndrome, that is decreased oncotic pressure because of the increased excretion of the albumin. And hepatic cause, hepatic failure, decreased synthesis of albumin or the protein synthesis, that is low oncotic pressure. Cardiac causes increased hydrostatic pressure. Nutrition, of course, the same, decreased protein. Of course, infective, I told you, as I told, the fluid because of the capillary permeability. I told you the increased, like that is one more, this is increased permeability occurs during inflammation. It may be due to inflammation, simple systemic inflammation. Systemic inflammation, the arterioles or the capillaries that occur in the parietal flora. Of course, it may be due to inflammation in the flora itself, like in case of pneumonia, tuberculosis. There, because of the inflammation, the capillary permeability will occur and the more fluid will enter into the pleural space. That is one, of course. Collagen vascular disease, they are all, you know. Chylus, I told you, it may be due to tumor, tuberculosis, lymphatic obstruction. Clinical presentation, what are the important features clinical presentation? One is the trachea inspection and trachea is deviated to the opposite side. That is, of course, this will occur in actually large pleural effusion. About more than 1500 ml of fluid that has to be collected in the pleural space. But clinically apparent, the findings are because of the accumulation of fluid more than 500 ml of fluid. First, about 150 ml of fluid is required to cast a lateral shadow. That is, suppose all the patients lie down and take a film, then lateralized, that will be present about 150 ml. Erect posture, if you want to see pleural fluid, minimum 300 ml of fluid is required to be collected. Clinically, to demonstrate signs of pleural effusion, minimum 500 ml of fluid is required. More than 500 ml of fluid is required, that is known as moderate pleural effusion. Of course, what is the sign? The sign is Ellis-shaped curve. Ellis-shaped curve, which means that will be more or less like this. This is Ellis-shaped curve. Highest in the axilla. Why highest in the axilla? Because of the capillary suction. Because of the when the both flora are pressed against each other, the fluid is collecting, and because of the capillary suction, the fluid rises. Fluid rises in between the two layers of the flora, parietal and visual flora, more in the axilla. So that's why you'll find highest in the axilla, lowest in the spine, actually, comparatively. Anterior in between. That is more or less a shaped curve. At least a shaped curve. It is. Symptom signs I told, of course, at least a shaped curve. And then that is evident when you do percussion on three areas, anteriorly, laterally, and posteriorly, and make all the 3 points. 2 points, then you find highest in the axilla, lowest in the spine. That is known as Ellis shaped curve. That is in percussion, you will get Ellis shaped curve, and the dull note is stony dull note. You must always tell in case of pleural effusion, hemothorax and pyothorax, you must always tell that the percussion note is always stony dull. Stony dull means when you repeatedly percuss over that area, you will get pain. You will get pain. So that's why it, as if you are percussing over a stone. So that's why it is known as stony dullness. The difference between dullness and stony dullness is this. In dullness, even if you percuss repeatedly for about 15 to 20 times, 15 to 20 times, then you will not feel any pain. But in case of pleural effusion, because of the resistance offered by the fluid, you percuss repeatedly more than 5-6 times, then you feel pain. Your finger will ache with pain. That is known as stony dullness. As if you are percussing over a stone. So that is percussion. What are the osculatory findings? What are the osculatory findings, ma'am? Harika. Emma?
Vesicular breathing sounds, crackles, script.
Decreased vesicular breathings because the fluid is there. Because of the fluid that is there in between your stethoscope and the lung, because of the presence of fluid, you will hear decreased breath sounds. And sometimes you may not hear breath sounds at all. Decreased or absent breath sounds. Decreased, absent breath sounds may be there. Crackles you may hear when there is associated pneumonia or lung abscess, like bronchiectasis. Crackles also will be there. Crackles will be there. That is advantageous sound. But important is decreased breath sounds, decreased vocal resonance, and then crackles will be there. And then as a postgraduate one, as a finalist student, you must tell that you hear bronchial breathing above the level of floor lift. Above the level of floor lift because of the collapsed lung. Because of the collapsed lung with a patent bronchus, you will hear bronchial breathing. Now, of course, egophony, bronchophony, egophony will be there. Egophony means just like a bleating of a goat. E to A sign. E to A sign. If you ask the patient to say E, he will hear it with A. That is may. That is the bleating of a goat. That is egophony will be there. So these are all important findings of auscultation. Of course, crackles, like in pure liquid in case of due to pulmonary tuberculosis. In case of pulmonary tuberculosis, the fluid accumulates. The fluid accumulates because of the capillary permeability. The fluid accumulates. So there you may find only just decreased vesicular breath sound. There are no crackles. Crackles are not always heard. So the important the clinical features and the findings. Coming to today's class is investigation. How will you investigate the case? Of course, here total CBC, differential count are all important. acute phase reactant also you can say. And what is more important is one is X-ray chest. X-ray chest is, I already told you, that is minimal 300 ml of fluid is required to diagnose pleural effusion. Because minimum 300 ml of fluid, because how will you diagnose? What are the X-ray findings? What are the X-ray findings? X-ray findings are of course this Ellis Sheffer. This is known as what is this? Cardiophrenic angle. This is cardiophrenic angle. Cardiophrenic angle is obturated. This side costophrenic angle. This side no, there is no costophrenic angle. Costophrenic angle is obturated. Cardiophrenic angle is obturated. And you will find opacity, homogeneous opacity on the lateral side. This is pointing toward the center. The concavity is pointing toward the center. That is the X-ray findings. What is the difference between this and this? This is paraneumotic effusion. Here, homogeneous opacity is there. Here is also opacity is there, but it is heterogeneous opacity. But what you find the difference between pneumonic patch and pleural effusion is this air bronchograms. You find this like air bronchograms will be there. Air bronchograms. This is pneumonic patch. This is so here there are no air bronchograms. Homogeneous opacity, no air bronchogram. This more height, more like that. Here, of course, here it is there. Is there same here given here also. Here, costophrenic angle you are able to see. Cardiac phrenic angle, but here you are not able. The layering of chest, if it is minimal or suppose say subpulmonic effusion, it has to do it. Lateral X-ray, if you take, the layering will be there. The third one, ultrasonogram, of course, it will also tell the fluid is there or not. CT scan, of course, is there. So, what is more important than these things is you must know, because you know that there are two types of effusion are there. There are two types of effusion. What are those two types of effusion? One is the transudate and another one is exudate. You must differentiate whether it is transudate or exudate. So for that, what you have to do is you have to aspirate the fluid. At least minimum 50 ml of fluid. 50 ml of fluid is required for all these tests. Minimum 50 ml of fluid is required. Of course, this is differentiate between exudate and transudate. So it is also done for therapeutic purpose. When there is massive collection, there is severe respiratory distress, suspected empyema, massive fluidization, also it can be therapeutic purpose. Diagnosis also you have to do, but at least you must draw 50 ml of fluid. 50 ml of fluid you draw. Over the fluid will be like this. Star colored, blood stain, purulent. Chylous is just like milk. Transudate and exudates. If the pleural fluid is a transudate, the protein, of course, we measure it will be less than 3 grams, less than 3 grams per 100 ml or 100 ml per deciliter. That is 3 grams. Here, in case of exudate, that will be cloudy, purulent, it will be more than 3 grams. The pH will be more than 7.2. In case of exudate, it will be less than 7.2. Glucose, of course, more than 40, less than 40. LDH less than 200, high, that is high will be there in case of 200. Cells will be less than 1000, and in case of X-ray it will be more than. More precisely, how to differentiate between trans rate and X-ray? So there are criteria known as, what are the criteria? The criteria known as Light's criteria. Light's criteria is one of these three should be present. To say it's Light's criteria. One is that is known as Richard Light. Dr. Richard Light, he proposed this criteria. What are the criteria? The pleural fluid to serum total differentiation should be more than 0.5. The pleural fluid protein will be more than the serum protein. That is more than 0.5. If it is more than 0.5, the pleural fluid LDH more than 0.6, more than serum is 0.6. Pleural fluid LDH more than 2/3, more than 2/3 of the serum LDH. If one of them is present, then it is known as a Light's criteria. Of course, the latest, the modified Light's criteria, one more thing is added. That is pleural fluid, that is cholesterol, if it is more than 45 milligrams, then 45 milligrams. That is also added recently. That is in the modified Light's criteria. So of course, here he says bloody pleural fluid is there because hemothorax. It may be due to malignancy, it may be due to pulmonary embolism, it may be from cystophilia lymphocytosis. Now again, there are other differences. Apart from Light's criteria, there are other differences regarding the glucose and the pH. Regarding the glucose and the pH, I'll tell you protein, of course, more than 3 grams. And of course, the ratio between this and that is more than 0.5. And again, you must always know, one is that is cholesterol also should be more than 40 milligrams. You must always know about the glucose because this is very, very important. Because it is very, very important to know it's a case of paranemonic effusion or other than tuberculosis. And very important. So what you find here is the glucose concentration less than 60. Of course, it is probably due to tuberculosis, malignancy, rheumatoid arthritis, and paranemonic effusion. Why it is important? Because of the treatment differs. Treatment differs that may be thick one, and actually cannot aspirate the fluid. The treatment of this paranemonic effusion is already actually thoracostomy, tube thoracostomy has to be done. So that's why you must always know the concentration of glucose is also very, very important. In rheumatoid arthritis, of course, the glucose also may be very, very less. It may be less, it may be less than 30 or it may be less 10, and just 10 milligrams like that. So that is one. Of course, lymphocytes, all these things you will know. So, one is glucose concentration, and the other one is pH of the fluid. pH of the fluid is also very, very important. pH of the fluid is also very important. The pH, it will be actually translated more than 7.3, but here it is X-ray will be less than 7.3 will be there. But if pH will be less, it will be present in empyema, tuberculosis, malignancy, collagen vascular disease, and esophageal rupture. So that is important. So apart from the Light's criteria, you must always also know about the pH and glucose. Then you will come to know whether it is a paranemonic effusion or whether it is due to empyema or whether it is collagen vascular disease or it may be due to esophageal rupture. It is all very important to The line of the treatment is important. All pleural effusion are not the same. All pleural effusion are not the same. Then if you think it just a pleural effusion, you just leave it like that, it may get inoculated. Adhesions may occur in the fluid and suppose it's very difficult to treat. It's very difficult to treat. And again, of course, you should know whether it is transferred, except for that will come to know with the right criteria. If it is a transferred, the treatment is very simple. If we give diuretics, and if you increase the protein by giving albumin or proteination, right, then of course it will provide the treatment. Simple diuretics, the effusion disappear, the transfer will disappear, but not in case of X-ray. X-ray you must differentiate, is it due to tuberculosis, ocular depression, is emphysema, or it is due to collagen vascular disease. This you will come to know when you do the test, like when you do pH or when you do this glucose estimation, then you will come to know. Of course, MLI is also there because there are two types of there. Most common, they are right side effusion and they are left side effusion. What are the causes of right side effusion? It may be due to heart failure. It may be congestive cardiac failure. Of course, it may be present both sides, right side and left side. But usually it is present on the right side first. First it will appear on the right side. And right side effusion, what are other causes? Other causes are pulmonary tuberculosis. Of course, it may be present on both sides. The pulmonary tuberculosis, congestive cardiac failure, cirrhosis of liver, and then ascites, ascites, renal failure, sophronic abscess. They're all causes of the right side effusion. What are the causes of left sided effusion? Srinath, one of the boys should answer. Hello? Are you there? Any one of you? Any one of the boys? Hello? Okay, come on, let's go to Harika only. Harika? Ayesha is there. Ayesha is there? Hello? Ayesha?
Yes, sir.
You tell me, what are the causes of left side pleural effusion? Right side effusion is very common, but there are some cases where the left side pleural effusion is only present. What are they? They are, one is pancreatitis. The second one is rupture esophagus.
Renal failure.
Amma?
Renal failure.
Renal failure, of course, it may be present on both right and left. But commonly, some effusions they are present only on the left side. So what are they? One is pancreatitis. Pancreatitis is on that side. Esophageal rupture. Trauma to the thoracic duct. Important. And of course, pericarditis. They're all common. They're all causes of left-sided pleural effusion. So there, of course, the other you have to do it like amylase, like suggests the patient is a pancreatitis, or it may be esophageal rupture. So if you do amylase, then you will know whether it is due to pancreatitis or esophageal. Malignancy will be there. And in case of trauma to the thoracic duct, above the level of D5, also that left-sided pleural effusion will occur. So salivary amylase elevations are not pancreatically important. The malignancy and esophageal rupture have salivary amylase elevation, not pancreatic amylase. That you must know. Cytology is also important. you know, because causes of pleural effusion, I told there are many causes. Many causes. What are the causes? Pneumothorax may be there. Pneumothorax may be there. And because it may be due to obstruction of the lymphatics. The obstruction of lymphatics will occur usually in malignancies. It may be due to malignancy, or it may be due to lymphomas, or it may be due to lymph nodes, or it may be due to radiation. So in all those conditions, you must do the cytology. Cytology is 60%, if you positive about 60% of malignant effusions, the volume of pleural fluid analyzed does not impact the yield of diagnosis. Urinothorax. There is another condition known as urinothorax, because in case of obstructive uropathy, the urine arrives in the pleural space. Retroperitoneal, it may occur retroperitoneally under the posterior diaphragm because of the, as I told you, in ascites, like in case of cirrhosis of liver, the ascitic fluid enters into the pleural space. So here also urine enters the pleural cavity retroperitoneally or via retroperitoneal lymphatics. So if you remove the fluid, it smells urine. The creatinine, of course, will be there, same. That is urinothorax. So what are other investigations? Because I told you one of the important causes is connective tissue disorders. Connective tissue disorders like lupus erythematosus, rheumatoid arthritis. There, the pleural effusion will occur. In case of pleural effusion occur, there important is the glucose will be very less, pH is also very less. And apart from these investigation must always do serum complement, pleural ANA, Algae cells, of course. Pleural biopsy is also important. Suppose if you're not sure of the diagnosis, you're not sure, then pleural biopsy is one of the investigations. So what is the needle used? Abraham's needle. One is Abraham's needle, true cut needle. Another is a true cut needle. Abraham's true cut is another type of needle, pleural biopsy needle. Of course, here it is given. There another test known as Edison deaminase. Edisonine deaminase. Here, of course, we not mentioned here. Internal, how much should be there? ADA? ADA should be there more than 40. If it is more than 40, less than 40 is not significant. Previously, actually, they said that more than 70, but the latest is if it is more than 40, then it is okay. ADA levels, if it is more than 40 in case of pleural fluid, it's a case of pulmonary tuberculosis, definitely. But it's the same, suppose if you do CSF ADA levels, if it is more than 10, if it is more than 10, then definitely it's a case of tuberculous meningitis. If it is here, in case of pleural, and if it is more than 40, then it's a case of tuberculous pleural effusion. Adenosine deaminase, ADA levels. So what is the management? What is the management? Supportive management is, one is oxygen. If it is oxygen necessary, then you have to give oxygen, fluid therapy, initiate IV antibiotics, analgesics and antibiotics as stated. Antibiotics you have to give because pleural effusion may be due to pulmonary tuberculosis. Pleural effusion is maybe due to bacteria, or pleural effusion may be due to fungal. So necessary, you must know the cause. The cause will be known by examining the pleural fluid, whether it's a transient or X-ray. Again, if it X-ray, it is due to pulmonary tuberculosis, or it is due to bacteria, or it is due to fungal like that. So then he must treat the cause. He must treat the cause. So initially he can give antibiotics. He can give antibiotics. If it is due to pulmonary tuberculosis, some little later on. Analgesics, antibiotic. Why you should give analgesia? I told you the pleural pain is so severe. The patient cannot take his breath. That is known as cutting type of pain. It is known as cutting type of pain, and which is catching. The patient catches his chest while taking respiration. He's afraid to take inspiration because of the severe pain. So there, you have to give analgesics. Analgesics you have to give. Supportive treatment, of course. Medical pneumonia, antibiotics, we can give this ciprofloxacin, amoxicillin, clindamycin, hospital acquired, all this we can give. Tuberculosis, category 1 treatment actually you have to give. What is this treatment? 2 HRZD means for 2 months you have to give all these 4 drugs. Isoniazid, rifampicin, pyrazinamide, or ethambutol. Remember this, for 2 months you have to give all these 4 drugs. Rest 4 months, that is 4 means 4 months. HRE means the same INH, rifampicin and ethambutol. This category 1 treatment you have to give. This is the latest step you have to follow. This is the latest treatment. Previously, what they said actually category 1, category 2, category 3, they are all taken out. There was only one category, and then 3 and 4. So the 2 actually, but they are all actually, in case of pulmonary tuberculosis, actually we'll deal in detail. So the 2 HRZD and of course 4 HRE, that is rifampicin, isoniazid, and ethambutol for 4 months. That is the if it is tuberculosis proliferation. And you can also give prednisolone. You can also give prednisolone 1 to 2 milligrams per kg body weight for about 4 to 6 weeks. Why? It promotes the rapid absorption of pleural fluid and it prevents fibrosis, because laculated pleural fluid is very, very important. Laculated pleural thickening, laculated pleural effusion, they are very difficult to treat, and actually thoracostomy has to be done. Sometimes actually has to be surgically removed. Pleural thickening actually surgically has to be removed. So it's very difficult. It will become a very difficult operation. So to prevent fibrosis and adhesions, you have to give prednisolone 1 to 2 milligrams per kg body weight for about 4 to 6 weeks. Of course, if it is a transit, because of congestive cardiac failure, if it is transit because of renal failure, it is transit because of cirrhosis of liver, then you can just give diuretics, like you can give furosemide. Furosemide you can give in case of transudates. Surgical, of course, surgical I told you therapeutic. One is removal of fluid. It is one for diagnostic, and the second one is for therapeutic purpose. Therapeutic purpose. What is here? By using a whiteboard needle you must, because it may be thick. In translate it may be thin. You can use small board. But in case of you have to use about 18 size whiteboard needle, because the thick pleural fluid will be there. It cannot be drained by a small needle. So intercostal drainage under water seal has to be done. So what you have to select the maximum dullness. You have to select actually mid-axillary, posterior axillary. 7th or 8th space actually you have to select. Where will you put the needle? Above the rib or below the rib? Ayesha. In the intercostal spaces, where will you put the needle? Above the rib or the below the rib?
About the rib.
Ayesha. Why? Why? Because the neurovascular bundle will be present below the rib. That is vein, artery, and nerve. So the vein and the neurovascular bundle is present below the rib. That's why you must always choose above the rib so that you will not damage. Of course, that the fluid that is underwater drainage should be there. Underwater drainage is not here. It is here. I heard it is here. Underwater seal bag is like this. This is the pleural fluid coming like this. This is the atmosphere. It go like this. So it's here. Underwater some fluid is there. Underwater seal bag is used in one-way valve mechanism. This go like one. Only the it goes like this, but it will not go like that. Enters in the underwater drainage bag, but the atmospheric air cannot enter pleura due to the underwater seal. Water is there. Over for about 2 to 8 centimeters, water will be there, so air cannot enter like this. The lungs. That's the underwater drainage. And tube thoracostomy. This is known as tube thoracostomy. Tube thoracostomy is done in case of pneumothorax, of course, pleural fluid, loculated pleural effusion, recurrent pleural effusion, more than all the hemispheres, of course, hydropneumothorax, empyema, pneumothorax, phylothorax, paranephrine, pleural fluid is more than less than 0.72, glucose less than 60. Here again, we told underwater drainage. Underwater drainage. Next lecture మేడం ఉందా అయిపోయిందా అయిపోయింది నాది అయిపోయింది ఇక్కడ ఇది మూవ్ అవట్లేదు సో you're there. I'll just finish another 5 minutes. అంతే I'll just finish another 5 minutes. Of course, there are other procedure bats. If you are not able to drain, then it is should be led to thoracic surgery consultation, avoid delays. In case of video assisted thoracoscopy is important. Video assisted thoracoscopy has to be done. And there is another term, fluorodesis. Fluorodesis is an effective therapy. This is recommended in case where the symptoms are relieved by initial drainage, but when there is rapid reaccumulation of in case of malignancy or in case of some case of pleural effusion. There, what are the drugs? What are the drugs that are to be used in case of fluorodesis? One is doxycycline or minocycline can be used. And other things you can use. What are the talc? You can also use talc. That is talc you can use. There you can push the talc and then you can use doxycycline or minocycline. So fluorodesis, one is actually tetracycline, minocycline, and doxycycline. And then Talc actually you can also produce. And of course, pain will be more. Pain will be more. One is draining of the floral fluid in case of therapeutic. You cannot drain more than 750 to 1 liter. 1 liter you cannot drain. You have to stop draining fluid more than 1 liter of fluid. And second one is when there is pain, when the patient complains of severe pain, you cannot drain. Because if you drain more fluid more than 1 liter at a sitting, it will cause reactionary pulmonary edema. It will cause reaction to pulmonary edema. That you have to avoid. That is one. And while draining also you have to take precautions. Precautions like that is thoracentesis, what you have to use a three valve you have to use, not single. Tight draining is not done because it may cause actually inadvertently air may enter into the pleural effusion. It will cause hydropneumothorax, and you must use a three-way valve. Three-way valve you must use. So one is not more than 1 liter, and the patient complains of pain, you must use a three-way valve. So that is pleural effusion. And of course, complicated empyema, pneumothorax, all those kind of pneumothorax, all those kind of tubothoracoscopy has to be done. Of course, when the pH is less than 7.2 and the sugar when they less than 60 milligram, in all those conditions, then you must use tubothoracoscopy. Let's translate heart failure, hydrothorax, that is cirrhosis of liver. Due to renal failure, you can always give diuretics. You can always give diuretics. And of course, protein also you can give. So that is about pleural effusion. Thank you. Thank you for patient hearing. Thank you all.
No.